Folks, who really sets the price? I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for condos across the York region for week ending February 28th, 2024. If you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Up here, there's a link to my calendar. Below this video, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. And if you've not yet subscribed, but you're here every week, you enjoy the content, consider subscribing. So who really sets the price? Last week, I was with a client looking at their condo, picking a price, estimating what's going to sell for, and then the whole process of getting their condo on the market. And when we're looking at other units that have sold in the building, there was one unit that was identical to theirs on a different floor. The difference is that my client's condo was on a higher floor and it had a parking. That was the difference. Otherwise, it was the identical unit. And that unit that we looked at sold for $600,000, the one we were comparing to. Remember, my client's unit had parking and it was on a higher floor. So I showed him, look, this is just like your unit. It's identical. He agreed, yeah, same unit as mine. And I said, it sold for $600,000 just 1 week ago. And as we're figuring out what potentially his unit would sell for, he right away jumped in and said, oh, if that sold for $6, I got to get at least $750 for mine. So I'm thinking, wow, $150,000 more for the same unit. The only difference is higher floor and parking. And I thought, well, how did you come up with $150,000 more? He goes, well, I paid when I bought. And the building is only 3 years old, so it's a fairly new building. He said, well, I paid $100,000 for my parking spot. So right there's $100,000. Plus I paid, I think it was $2,000 per floor. And he calculated the floors and the height and so forth, how many floors up times $2,000 per floor. That's how he came up with $150,000. I said, that's what you paid the builder. But now the building is 3 years old and we're comparing to current sales in the building. It's not going to translate what you paid and what you're going to get. It's not going to translate dollar for dollar. He had a hard time understanding that. He said, why? The parking spot hasn't changed. Cost $100,000 3 years ago. With inflation, it should cost more now. I see your logic, I said, but reality, it doesn't work out that way. The logic behind it is that you chose to pay that to the builder. What's a buyer going to choose to pay for it now is the real question, is what we need to answer. He goes, no, I didn't choose it. That's what the builder, those were the prices. I had no choice. I said, you did have a choice, because you could have chosen just not to buy in that building. Every buyer could have chosen not to buy in that building. And if that builder was not selling parking spots, that builder would have changed the pricing so people would then start buying parking spots. But that's not what the public did. Buyers jumped in. They paid the $100,000 for the parking spot, but don't expect the next buyer to give you dollar for dollar. And sure enough, when I looked at other examples in the building of similar units that had parking spots versus the ones that didn't have parking spots, it wasn't $100,000 more. It was $30,000 more to $50,000 more for the ones that had a parking spot. So in just 3 years, what somebody paid $100,000 for was now, on a good day, it was half. $50,000 people were paying for the unit that had a parking spot versus didn't. And yes, when you buy from a builder also, higher floors, you pay a premium on each floor. For the view, for the height gives you a better view, you pay a premium. But it does not translate dollar for dollar when you go to sell. You may want to ask for that, but if the buyers are not paying it, what are you going to do as a seller? You got to change your price. You're going to bring the price down to where the buyers feel, okay, I will pay that. So who really sets the price? You may think the builder set the price. Well, the builder said, this is what we want. And only because the buyers chose to actually pay it, it's really the buyer that sets the price. But it is more evident in the resale market because the list price goes out. List price is a wish. This is what I want. Are the buyers going to pay that is the real answer. So it's the buyers that really set the price by actually paying it. They set the price and they set the precedent in the building. So if parking spot adds $50,000 to the price of that condo unit, it may only add $25,000. How's the next unit going to get $100,000 for their parking spot? It's difficult because the buyers are looking at the most recent sales and their need. What's their need? And there's so many other buildings that they could choose from, especially across the GTA. There are condos left, right, and center. Some of them too close to each other, actually. You could reach out and touch the next condo. Why do you got to buy in that specific building? So there's competition all around. The buyer's the one who sets the price. And just because you paid this for it, it will not, in almost every case. I can't think of one case where it will translate dollar for dollar. It's just not going to. So be careful about, yeah, I'm going to pay this and I'm going to get it back later. You may not get it back. If you feel this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. Let's get into the numbers. Folks, the condo market was taking a beating. Things are starting to change. Let's get right into it. So here's average sold prices. Today we're going to talk about the Peel condo market, York Region condo market, and the condo market for the city of Toronto. Normally York Region prices are much lower. Right now they're pretty close to where the city of Toronto as far as condo average sold prices go. But Peel still way down here. The difference, $582,000 for Peel, $715,000 for the city of Toronto. We're going to start off with Toronto, just the city of Toronto. Only condo apartments, no townhouses in these numbers. 221 were sold for week ending February 28th. So if we look at that, sales were increasing, and now maybe I'm going to say they're kind of flat. They are on a weekly basis up and down, but they're not really continuing to increase. 21 of those condos sold at $1 million or more. And the average sold price for a couple of weeks now has come down, sitting at $715,000. So for a couple of weeks it's come down, but I put an arrow kind of indicating that they're trending up the average sold price. If it continues to come down over the next few weeks, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to say, well, now they're trending down. I'm still of the belief when I see it, yeah, it's come down for a couple of weeks. Overall, though, still trending up from where we were at the beginning of the year. Compared to last year, $715,000, it's 3% lower. And if we kind of go back to the beginning of the year, between 3%, 5% and 6%, lower has kind of been the norm so far for the first few months of this year. The median price of $635 is 1% lower year over year. The dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. It's kind of pretty clear that average price and median price are trending up right now. 221 were sold, 31% sold at list price or more. That percentage, although it's low, has been trending up. We started the year at 14, 15%, then in the mid 20s, now we're at 31%. So it's consistently trending upwards, the amount of condos selling at list price or more. Sales, we have been listings. We have been listing more on a weekly basis versus this time last year. But when we look at active listings, we have at the end of the February 28th, at the end of that period, there was 3,046 condos available for sale. That's what I mean by active listings, available for sale. That's 945 more than what we had this time a year ago. So there's way more, 945 more condos on the market versus what was available a year ago. And months of inventory, although sitting in a balanced market at 3.2 months of inventory, that has been trending down since the beginning of the year. And as months of inventory trends down, prices tend to trend upwards. Months of inventory is the relationship between supply and demand. That's for the whole city, 3.2 months of inventory. Let's look at Toronto broken down into 9 sections. So if the whole city is at 3.2 months of inventory as an average of the whole city, how do some neighborhoods, how are they behaving? Well, Scarborough sitting at 2 months of inventory. So Scarborough is more competitive than looking at the city as a whole. So the experience of buying a condo in Scarborough is going to be different than, say, downtown, sitting at 5.3 months of inventory. In Scarborough, 37% sold at list price or more. In downtown, where months of inventory is 5.3, only 16% sold at list price or more. Average prices, though, could be a factor. Average price in Scarborough is $563,000. Downtown, $761,000. But the buying experience, vastly different between downtown and, say, buying in Scarborough. Buying in East York, a quarter, 25% of those condos sold at list price or more. Months of inventory is 3.5. Big difference between 5.3 and 3.5. But that's the city broken down into different sections. Let's look at York Region condos. 43 condo apartments were sold. 4 of those were at $1 million or more. Average sold price did jump up a bit to $712. And it's pretty clear average price in York Region for condos has been trending upwards. Compared to last year, 712 is 1% higher than where we were this time a year ago. The median price of 648 is 6% lower. The dotted line does indicate, although gradual, it is trending up. And for the longest time, we've been talking about how depressed the condo market is and condos taking a beating. It kind of looks like it's making a turn right now. And it could be just because of the spring market, and just as fast as it turns on, it could turn off. But right now, things are headed trending upwards as far as prices go. 43 were sold, 21% sold at list price or more. That percentage really hasn't changed very much. It's kind of flat. 92 were listed. 446 are available for sale, which is 115 more than were available this time a year ago. Might not sound a lot, 115. If it was the city of Toronto, wouldn't be a lot at all. But for York Region, it's a lot of extra properties, a lot of extra condos that are on the market. Months of inventory, slowly trending down since the beginning of the year. We're sitting at 2.4. So as months of inventory trend down, prices seem to trend up. That's the normal relationship between months of inventory and prices. Here's Peel Region. Sales are up. 47 condos were sold. No condos sold at $1 million or more. Average sold price came way down from the previous week. It's 1 week. It did come down, sitting at 582. I'm still saying overall, prices seem to be trending up still. But over the next few weeks, if prices still continue to come down, then I'm going to tell you something else. I'm going to say, well, they were trending up and now they're trending down. Things can move and change quickly. 582 is 5% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price of 575 is 2% lower. And I'm looking at the dotted line. I'm trying to see, and I had to put a little note here. It's trending slightly up because I couldn't tell if my line was actually flat or angled up a little bit. but 47 were sold, 19% sold at list price or more. It's not a big number. Listings, 129 were listings, so listings were way up. 466 are available for sale, which is 180 more that are on the market this year versus the same time last year. And months of inventory overall trending down, now sitting at 2.3 months of inventory. Here's a quick summary. City of Toronto, 3.2 months of inventory. York region, 2.4. Peel region, 2.3. I wouldn't say we're in a buyer's market, but you're going to experience in a lot of areas a balanced market. In some, but more particular in some buildings, it's going to be more of a seller's market, but the overall experience is probably going to be more of a balanced market when you're looking to buy a condo. But prices are trending up. Months of inventories in general are trending down. The condo atmosphere is changing out there. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.